This week, we are talking all things leads. See, when travel advisors join our free Facebook group, one of the first things that we ask them is, what is that biggest obstacle you're facing in your business? And over again, over these last couple of months, there is one theme that is screaming louder than any other. And it's getting leads, getting quality leads, finding clients, all of the different ways in which it is that you can say that. But see, here's the thing, the industry is shifting. Part of it is politics, part of it is economy, part of it is just simple uncertainty, which is shaking some of the consumer confidence that's out there. The other part of it is we also have a big influx of travel advisors who are newer to the industry or absolutely brand new. We also have a lot of advisors who've been in for 3, 4, 5, 6 years and have ridden that post-pandemic wave of travel where clients did not care what it cost. It did not care how hard it was to get there. They were going come hell or high water. Now, the problem is when you have high water, it's like everything else in life. Whatever goes up has to come back down. And so it was similar to what happened prior to the pandemic. There was a lot of business owners, a lot of travel advisors who had a business, what I would say is by default rather than by design. And it is all part of the cycle that is travel. Now, I'm not here to doom and gloom, but what I am here to say is that it is going to be a little bit harder. And I'm not going to say that we're talking wildly harder, but it is going to take a little bit of effort. See, here's the thing that I think gets missed so often. When you are a travel advisor, an independent travel advisor, an agency owner, you're in business. There's two secrets that seem to get lost all the time when working with travel advisors. One, you're in the business of sales. And two, you're in the business of business. And so both of those can tend to make us very uncomfortable, because it means that we have to do more than just planning travel. We actually have to do what it takes to attract new clients. We have to create opportunities for people to want to work with us. Then we actually have to sell to them. I know planning travel is so much more fun than having to go out and find new leads, having to go out and actually do the selling. Okay, I got to be honest. I love the selling part. Like that was my favorite part, when I could completely lean into the whole idea of fitting the puzzle pieces together. How does this one go with that one? How do we connect them? How do we get them to find the right trip? I loved that part. To be able to have conversations and consultations with my clients to figure out the things that they wanted that they didn't even know they wanted. That was my favorite part. Now, ironically, that's not what this episode is about. This episode is all about how do you get a lead magnet that's actually going to grab you clients? Or better yet, how is it you actually attract new leads? Now, the standard way of thinking is that you want to have some sort of lead magnet out there of some form so that you can get people into your email list. I 100% agree with that. What I don't agree with is kind of that 2015, 2016 way of thinking. You know, that's 10 years. Oh, heavens, that's 10 years. That's 10 years ago, 2015. How did that happen? Okay, just give me a minute. I'm feeling a little old. But seriously, we can't do business the way we did 10 years ago and think we're going to get better results today. Every business has to evolve. And how we attract new clients is absolutely a part of that. The way it is that we connect with our clients is absolutely a part of that. Now, when we're talking about a lead magnet, it's not just about getting email subscribers. Yes, that is the goal to a degree, because we don't own the social platforms. And yes, I know last week's episode was all about social. And I am still a firm believer that you need to be on social. But you want to leverage that as a tool because you don't actually own that platform. So in which case, you want to make sure that you're leveraging that platform so that you can collect the emails. And I hate to use the word collect because I don't want you just to collect them. You're not supposed to be hoarding emails. You want to be attracting new leads that can turn into clients, not just collecting and hoarding email addresses. So, in this episode, I want to go through why you might be struggling to get that lead magnet to convert. And now, the first version of convert is maybe to actually get people to opt in. The second one is for it to actually convert into sales. So, first off, why is nobody opting in? I hate to break it to you. If they're not opting in, it's probably because it's not relevant. If it's not something that's going to solve a problem for a client, then it's not going to capture their attention. People don't just sign up for things because they think their email is super boring and they are not getting near enough emails. So they want to sign up so that they get tons and tons and tons more emails. No. In fact, in 2025, while email is absolutely one of the very best tools you can have in your tool belt for marketing your business, we also want to be mindful that your clients want to make sure that they're getting an exchange of value, that if they give you the time to open that email, that you're going to give them something worth opening it for. A one size fits all lead gen is simply not something that anybody's looking for, like a packing list. Nobody's going to opt in for a cruise packing list unless they're a DIYer. See, you want to make sure that the lead generator that you're putting out there is actually going to bring you the type of client who wants to work with you. People don't hold off booking a cruise because they don't know what to pack. We want to make sure that we're at the right part of the sales cycle for that. There are so many other questions that your clients are going to be asking themselves long before they're getting to what do I need to pack in order to be able to book. Typically, if somebody's asking, what do I need to pack for my river cruise? It's because they've already booked their river cruise. Most river cruises book upwards of a year in advance. They're not going to worry about what they need to wear a year or pack a year prior to actually going. And we want to make sure that what we're creating for them is going to be something that's going to solve one of the objections that's preventing them from actually booking. So how is it can you get into the mind of your client to start to think about, okay, what is it that's preventing them from taking that next step, from booking a river cruise, from booking that Caribbean cruise, from booking that trip to Africa, whatever it is, what it is that you want to sell. Now, another reason they're not opting in is it's too long. Nobody wants to hear 77 places you need to go before you die. Nobody wants to hear 104 places you need to eat on vacation. They don't want to opt in for something that's crazy long or, again, irrelevant. How can you shorten that down? How can it be 3, 5, 7 at the absolute most? Reasons, places, types of, what are those things that you can create for them? If it's too long, people are too busy. Here's another bonus. If it's shorter, it's not going to take you as long to create. It's not for them is a really important one for a lot of clients. In order for them to give you their email address, they got to know it's actually for them, that it's actually them that you're talking to. When you lack specificity on who it is that you're trying to attract, nobody knows you're actually talking to them or actually trying to capture their attention. And therefore, they're not going to pay attention. So that's a really big part of the puzzle when you're doing that. When you're creating your content, you want to answer, why am I here? Am I in the right place? And is this for me? Because if you don't answer those 3 important questions, they're not going to give you that ever important email address. Now, I said we were going to talk about why it's not converting to sales. Again, if they don't know it's for them, then how do they know that this is what they want to buy? Part of the reason why they don't know it's for them is because you don't know it's for them, or you don't know what it is that you ultimately want to sell in the end. You need to have a specificity as to what it is you are wanting to sell ultimately. Just selling travel in general isn't going to sell. Just selling travel as a whole isn't going to get people to opt in. What specifically are you wanting to attract them for? Now, I'm not saying you can't have multiple lead magnets that are out there, but you want to make sure that when you put one out, it has a very specific target. Now, here's the best part. A really good lead magnet can be put out with very specific targets that actually all lead back to a similar lead magnet. If you're attracting the wrong audience, again, that's where I was talking earlier about that packing list and the fact that it attracts a DIY. If you aren't attracting the right people onto your email list, it does not matter how many people you are collecting and hoarding onto that email list. It's never going to convert over to a sale. We want to make sure that the people who raise their hand and hand over their email address are actually legitimate possibilities for wanting to work with you in the future. But instead, if what we focus on is just what's the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit, I'm going to give them a packing list, or I'm going to do just cheap deals. You sign up for this, I'm going to give you all the cheap deals. I'll show you what the cheapest destinations are. Well, here's the thing. Nothing against cheap people, because to me, they're not cheap. They just have a budget constraint. And I firmly believe that budget clients deserve to have the attention of a travel advisor as well. So if you want to serve a budget client, I'm not here to tell you you can't. But what I am going to do is tell you the ones that are just looking for the cheap because they want it cheaper than cheap are never going to be that ideal client that you want. A budget conscious client is very different than a cheap client. We all know that cheap client. They have a very different attitude about it than a budget minded client. Once you have that lead magnet out there, are you following up? Do they know what to do next after they get it? See, if you don't actually tell people what to do next, they don't know what to do next. They're like, okay, thanks. That was cool. Bye. You want to make sure you actually have a full follow-up sequence that comes out after that you have all of that put in place, and that you are sending out regular emails. And yes, I fully admit I fell off the wagon of sending out regular emails. Had a little bit come up in 2025. If you're watching on the video, you can tell that we've had a couple of mishaps, including right now, I am rocking some broken fingers. And so that definitely affected the way I can show up in my community. I am definitely getting back on the wagon, and we are getting out there and showing up for our clients again. But the thing is that it's through those weekly emails that you're going to build a deeper connection. I will tell you, the weeks that I send out emails to say, hey, the podcast is live, guess what? The podcast numbers skyrocket versus the weeks when we don't send an email. It is a very definite, clearly defined difference. Now, finally, did you actually put it out there? It's great to have a lead magnet, but it sucks if nobody knows it exists. You want to make sure that if you're going to take the time to put it out there, that you're actually, or take the time to create it, that you're actually putting it out there for others to consume, for your ideal clients to have an opportunity to opt into it. See, if you don't actually get it out there and get it done and test it, I would almost say testing it before you get it done is even more important. Then it's all for nothing. You want to make sure that you're putting it out there. You're testing it. You're testing where you put it. You're testing the hook that you put it on it. You're testing your content that's in it, the format, because again, not all audiences just automatically want a PDF. What if you could just create a 5-minute video that you had in an unlisted YouTube portal that you could just send out as part of it? Super slick, super easy. face to camera, just like what I'm doing as I put these episodes out on YouTube now. We're strictly just face to camera, no big fancy graphics, no big fancy anything. Although I have recently hired somebody, so that may change in future. But for now, that's all it is. I record this on Zoom. We upload it. We put a thumbnail to it. That's all we're doing at this point. We're keeping it simple until we have the capacity and the bandwidth to expand. You want to put it out there. You want to tweak it. You want to rinse what needs to be, or you want to tweak and replace what's not working, and then just rinse and repeat over and over and over again. But most importantly, you've got to put it out there. Now, here's the deal. A lot of travel advisors come to me because they are struggling. One, they may have a lead magnet, but it's not doing anything. Two, they don't know where to start in building one. And three, what on earth do you put in the monthly or the weekly content? What do you do with all this? Well, here's the deal. May 1 is when we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary of the Travel Advisor Success Studio. I am beyond excited that we have done a whole year. We've learned so much. And in fact, we've evolved what the Travel Advisor Success Studio is from when we first launched it. And part of that is we now do monthly training modules. And so for May, I'm running an extra program. I am bringing back my Leads That Convert workshop. It is a live workshop. We're doing it over 2 days this time. And that's going to be coming up in the middle of May. And then we're going to be adding in a third day. And we're doing it just as what I would call an office hours, so that you can jump onto that call and get coaching on your lead magnet all right there. But then for those that are already in the Travel Advisor Success Studio, or if you want to join us, we would love to have you. Our focus in the month of May is what needs to go into your weekly emails. What kind of content needs to be in there? How can you create content on the ongoing so that you can build connection with your clients and so that you can sell to them without being salesy? After all, nobody wants to be salesy. Nobody wants to have people cringe every time they see your email come in. So we're going to help you with that in the month of May. And then each quarter, as part of the Success Studio, we do a masterclass. And because we're doing this workshop and it's separate from the Success Studio, so you can do just the workshop on its own, or you can be a part of the studio and not do the workshop, or you can have it all. That is an option too. But as a bonus in the Success Studio this month, or this quarter, in the month of May, we are going to be doing we're going to be doing our masterclass. And this one is all about the follow-up sequences to your lead magnet. So when you send out a lead magnet, what are those follow-up emails? What should be in them? We're going to be going through and giving you templates so that you can do that, work on that, and get that all laid out. I'm going to link all of that up in the show notes for you below, and I would love to have you join us. Having a lead magnet is one of the most powerful things you can do for your business. It allows you to have connection with your clients, irregardless of if any of the social platforms choose you should or should not be there. You own your list. We're going to help you to be able to figure out who it is you want to attract, who it is you want to have conversations with, and then what it is that you need to do in order to get those people to come to your list. Here's the best part. Once you've mastered this workshop, you're going to be able to create future lead magnets in an hour or less. So if you're one of those travel advisors I've talked to that is 3 months, 6 months, 18 months into the planning my lead magnet process, you're going to want to be a part of this. Now, I also want to make sure that if you want to go off and do this on your own, that's okay too. So I'm going to link up in the show notes a link to my Google Doc that has all of the notes from today's podcast all listed out for you. So it's got all the tips and tricks in there of what why your lead magnet's not converting. And so when you look at your lead magnet, have a look at these. Are you doing any of these? Are you guilty of any of these? Because this can be the lens through which you double check what you've already got out there. And again, if your lead magnet's already converting, that's awesome. How can you get it out further? But if you're not already converting, then don't miss this workshop. You're going to want to check it out. Until next time, happy selling.